All right, Jeremy here, Jeeps Unlimited, partsbreakers.com, 303-666-9020. We have a little bit of a unique video that I'm doing today because primarily what we do out here is factory stock OEM, and what we have is this nice rust-free, we're moving things, so I apologize, things are a little scattered right now, 7-acre junkyard that caters to Jeeps from 1955 all the way up to 2006, with our bread and butter and our heart of our operation really being in that, I would say 76 to 06, the Wranglers, the TJ, the YJs, the TJs, the LJs, the Cherokee XJs, the Grand Cherokees, EJs, WJs, some of the Comanches, we have several of those right now, even some of the two-door Cherokees, and then back to your CJ5, CJ7s, not a lot of CJ8s, but there are some interchangeable parts, and yada, yada, yada. So this being a TJ frame, chassis, rolling chassis, is a little different than the way we normally sell this stuff, right? So if this was factory, this thing would have been tore down, all the way down, axles sold on their own unless it was something special. And then in that case, we would sell them as a pair. Lift kit, again, we don't do a lot of them, but we would, we'd have that kit available, and then the frame, and then the fuel tank, and then the lines. And I mean, we literally part these things out, and we've done this since 1984, down to the nuts and bolts. This is a little bit more unique, and it's not to say that this may not come apart, and it's possible, but if it was up to me, I would like to see this sold as a whole unit, because really this is going to work really well for somebody that may be in a situation where they've either bent their frame, or they're dealing with rust issues or some other kind of issue, or maybe, and this could possibly be it too, you don't need a frame at all. It's still cheaper because of everything this has on it to buy it as a rolling chassis. For us, this frame is a beautiful frame except for one thing, and that thing is it's been modified for a long arm kit. If you want a lift kit, or you want a long arm kit, suspension kit, then this one is going to be right up your alley. Now, one of the things that I'm not seeing, but I know is here, and I don't know where it is, I'll have to ask the guys because they pulled it. There's a control arm. It's an upper one here, and I'll figure out where that is. This is a complete lift kit, okay? And it's a complete frame and fuel tank and skid for the fuel tank and the skid for the gearbox and axles and steering linkage. I mean, literally, this has got pretty much everything you need to take your Jeep and plop onto this thing. You can rebuild some things as you go, or replace some things that are worn possibly on it, but by and large, it is ready to rock and is a smoking deal. If you look at our website, which you won't see a lot of frames on because they sell so quickly, but just a frame alone, if this was, stripped down, not cut, not set up. When I say cut, they lopped the mounts off these guys right here, front and rear, to make room for your articulation on your long arm. So nothing's been modified to make it weaker. It's just been modified to allow for more articulation and this suspension kit that was installed on this thing to work properly. But because of that, we can't sell that, as a bolt-on Jeep frame for somebody who may be just looking for a replacement frame and not necessarily all the other stuff that this one has. So I'd like to sell it as a rolling chassis, which in 21 years of doing this myself, I've probably only sold 2 of them, because we don't do a lot of this stuff. We don't get this stuff in very often. So there are the guys that call and say, hey, I'm not ready for it yet, or can you put me down for the next one, or whatever the situation may be. I would say look deep into your bank finances, if that's what it comes down to, or your credit cards, because there won't be another one of these. Not for a long time. I mean, there's always a chance we get something down the road, but we really do not go out of our way to find stuff like this. It is really kind of a one-off and rarity that this is even in this yard. So let me go over it in detail, exactly what it is. So obviously you get a nice frame that's set up for this lift, and you get this lift. And this lift is a Rubicon Express long arm lift kit. And again, that arm that's missing in action right now, I know is here somewhere. I just got to figure out where it went to. So it will be a complete suspension lift. There's wearables on those, and you can rebuild a lot of this stuff if you like, or you can run it as is. But the nice thing is you can service this lift kit, whereas like the factory stuff is really not serviceable. I mean, try to push a bushing out of a factory control arm and you're going to usually bend them. Whereas these things have joints that you can go in and repack, replace things, and blah, blah, blah. So those kits, and you can quote me on this, okay? Go price a long arm lift kit from Rubicon Express or any of the other big vendors out there. And you're going to be in the neighborhood of $2,000 on up. And $2,000, I mean, even the rough countries sell a long arm, and those kits are going to be in that 2,000 range. So this kit might be far more than that. I'm just telling you, the lift kit alone on this thing is going to run you at minimal $2,000, and that's just the suspension parts, right? So a frame, if it was a factory frame, we get around $3,000 for. So between the suspension and the frame, there's $5,000 right there. Now, I'm not justifying these costs to tell you what I'm selling this for, because at the end of the day, if you add up everything, you're going to see it far exceeds what we're actually selling it for. But I do think that there's value there for you to at least see. And trust me, as far as bragging rights go, the moment you pull up with this thing, when it's all said and done and your buddies look underneath, the suspension is going to be the last thing they go, whoa, what's that? Okay, now it's a great suspension kit, but this has got a Ford 8.8 in the rear, and the way I do things, I always save the best for last. So we're going to get to the best here in a moment. This is a great axle. It's a big axle. It's a monster. And they typically you don't see this obviously in Jeep's factory, but it is a very popular factory swap. And not only getting strength on these things, you're also getting disc brakes, okay, which is some of the lines we have. Those are actually for some other goodie I'll tell you about here in a second. They got an upgraded track bar, adjustable on the rear there, you can see, and that's greasable. Okay, so we got a Ford 8.8 in the rear, and then what's inside of this 8.8 that makes it even more special? Well, this 8.8 has got 488 gears, so that's one thing. So it's got front and rear 488 gears, and it also has an ARB air locker, okay? Again, price those things. They're anywhere from $1,000 on up, each one. Just for one single locker. And $1,000, I would almost bet money they're around $1,400 now. Maybe cost being over that $1,000 mark, but it's definitely more north of that. It's not cheaper, I assure you. Okay, so it just adds up very quickly. When you go, okay, this is my dream build suspension, I want this thing, go price this stuff, and I assure you, you're gonna be, with that axle set up, your locker, your gearing, the other modifications they did to it as far as getting it set up for a TJ, you're going to be on an 8.8 like that, probably minimally, and this is if you got a free 8.8, a free one, okay? This is you finding a free axle your buddy's got in his garage, he's going to give it to you. You're still going to be minimally $1,700, and that would be bare minimal. I would imagine if you were to buy that 8.8, buy the brackets, pay for the welding, or do the welding yourself to set up, and blah, 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 you break, north of 3,000. Guys, feel free to comment. Tell me if I'm wrong, but if you're doing it yourself and you get a free axle, and I know people always say that, well, I got a free axle for my buddy. Not everybody has free axles, but in the case that you do have one, that's where you're going to be at that, guys. So I'm not talking the whole video on this rear because it's a great axle, but it's by far, again, I'm saving the best for last. So coming around the back, the fuel tank is still in this one. If you wanted to put the later 03 to 04 or 05 to 06, which would be a different tank, this will bolt right in. You can just take this one out and drop this one down. The reason I left the tank, even though we do sell these normally separate, is because maybe somebody's wanting to use this thing for some other build and they need a fuel tank, or maybe your fuel tank sucks and just another component you don't have to worry about. This thing ran and drove when it came in, and we still have the e-brake splitter. Everything has been plumbed into the factory stuff for a Wrangler TJ, but wouldn't be hard to modify a YJ to put on this, wouldn't be hard to put a CJ or any other thing out there you have. So it's got a Kilby gas tank skid plate, which are extremely heavy duty. That's a pretty sweet little addition on this thing. You see the braided lines, those are for your air, for your lockers and such, which we do have the ARB air pump that does come with this. So again, another expense here. We have some steps which are more or less built to be a slider, super robust, super strong, and will protect the sides of your Jeep and give you a nice step to get up into it. Okay, It does have nice Bilstein shocks on it, front and rear. These ones were silver at one time. I think they painted them, but they were, we verified, and those look all to be really good. A lot of the wearables are just freebies. We're not, you know, I'm not telling you, it's just freebies, eh? It's got a nice anti-rock Curry sway bar disconnect system on it. These you don't actually have to disconnect. They actually work a little bit more unique. You can go online. I'm not going to tell you everything about them, but they run about $600 new. And then you got something like this, which is more for show than anything, but it's supposed to protect your gearbox up front for your steering. And you can probably pick those up fairly cheap on Amazon, I would imagine. Although I think this is actually a name brand, same brand, I believe, as that gas tank skid. And then you got your tie rods and drag link, everything up front. You can see how big and gnarly those bad boys are. I mean, they put the biggest of the big on to set up the angles and everything right for this front axle. Now, all you guys out there that have all of a sudden seen this thing, this is the best for last, and is really what makes this whole deal. Because that front axle alone is almost the entire value of what we priced this thing at. I mean, new, of course, and this is used, so we didn't consider it. We considered that in as far as that goes. So, and again, this one may very well come apart. I would like for it not to. I think somebody would love to have something like this, so we'll leave it together for a while. But ultimately, if somebody calls and gives us the majority of what we're asking for these axles, but they save a little bit because they don't want any other stuff, you know, we'll look at that. And that would be the pair of these axles, or potentially the front. The front is really, the back one's got a lot of money in it. The front is really the one that costs a lot. It's a Rock Jock. I believe Curry makes these as well. Front axle. It's set up, I think they call them a 45. They're kind of angled. There's, I'm sure, reasons they do all that. And again, I'm not an expert when it comes to off-road or aftermarket parts other than, you know, we drive them. You can see the blocking, though, that comes out of this diff, whereas the factory ones kind of just nub down, and then they fully weld them. I mean, there's not much else you can do as far as that axle goes to beef it up in any other way, shape, or form with a 44. That is a Dana 44 in technicality, what it would be called, or what it would be parts interchange with, but the actual brand of axle that was made, I believe, again, by Curry, and correct me if I'm wrong on that, Rock Jock Dana 44 for a TJ, a Wrangler TJ, and they make them for all kinds of things, or at least they did. Now, things change over the years. Maybe they don't make these anymore. It's hard to say, and if not, they even have better value. So I don't know and somebody can tell us, you know, what the studs here, if that's even a stud, or if that's just how they set everything up from the inside, if that's the casting for your bearing caps, or I'm not 100% on that. I don't really know what those are. If there's an accessory that you can get that adapts, but you can see how this one's mounted, so this might be modular to fit other different Jeeps. So again, you can look on that. You can probably even call them and show them this video, or show them screenshots. You can see how heavy duty the brakes are, the hubs are, the U-joints are, the steering knuckles. I mean, this thing is beefy is all get. So, all right. And then again, you have this really nice frame that's attached to it. So, and we scope all our frames, and we scope this one just like we do the rest of them, just to make sure we want to get you a solid, at the end of the day, we want everything that we're selling to be solid. So, all right. So, it's up on our website. It's also going to be up on YouTube shortly. And then I'll be putting up Facebook ads for places that I'll be delivering to here in the next few weeks. I know we got Vegas again soon, so we'll get ads up there. Probably California. I know I'm going up to Reno again to ride dirt bikes here middle of the month of August. We always have East Coast on our books. There's always a trip for the East Coast because we sell so much stuff out there. We just had a driver leave yesterday for the East Coast. We have another frame that's going to go out probably next week for New Jersey, so we can get it out there. There is some shipping charges involved there, but you can price that out as well. We're going to be half of what everybody else is when it comes to hot shots or us doing it ourselves. So a lot of good opportunities here. And then, and I said, save the best for us. That axle's the best, but look, it's got worn lockout hubs on it. So, I mean, you got a lot of goodies on this thing. Okay. Now I'm out of breath. Anything I missed? Probably something. You got front adjustable track bar there, steering stabilizer, super beefy there. And again, I'll see what the heck the guys did with that control arm. But I will make sure that it is not missing when this thing goes out. Because like I said, it is around here. I just got to figure out where they set it. So, okay. Questions, comments, concerns, 303-666-9020. If you'd like to educate me about something I mentioned here, I am totally all ears. Like I said, this is a little bit outside of my realm of things, even as much as time as I've been around Jeeps and know quite a bit about at least the lingo on it. I couldn't tell you how much extra strength. I know there's a lot of extra strength in that front 44. It's a high pinion as well, which TJs, just a little bit of a throw out there on if you're looking for a factory set of Dana 44s, which came in the 03 to 06 TJs or 04 to, or actually 05 to 06 LJs, because they didn't, the first year of the LJ, they didn't actually have a Rubicon. But a little bit of food for thought. The high pin, or the front Dana 44 on a TJ is a low pinion. Now you can do the research on the low pinion, high pinion stuff. Not really the biggest selling point, but it is something to consider, being that is a high pinion and there is added strength there and added value. So, okay. Thanks everybody. If there's anything else you need, give us a holler. We have other stuff. This is not the only thing we have. And the front happened to be this line that you're looking at happens to be our Cherokee line, our Grand Cherokee line. But the real stuff that we take a lot of pride and possession in is obviously our CJs, YJs, TJs, and they're in that front row. And really, even though we get more of them in than any other thing else in this yard, they also part very quickly. We can part a Jeep down, Wrangler, TJ, CJ, YJ, in about 3 days, down to nuts and bolts. All the stuff in here in the front are cores. Every single engine that we sell gets tested. When I say tested, not only do they get started, but they get comp checks, so compression checks on them. If compression comes back great, they get green flagged. If compression comes back mediocre, they get yellowed. And if we have anything down below spec, for us in our elevation is probably under 100, they get red. And red goes here. Yellows go to another area that we go further testing. And really all we're doing at that point is doing a leak down and seeing where are we losing compression. If it's out the bottom end, they get red tagged, they go back into this pile, or they go into this pile. If we're losing compression out of a valve, which is often the case, then we go through, lap the valves, do a timing set, oil pump. It's like a very minor, not technically a full rebuild, because we're not doing machine work. We're not doing anything really to the lower end other than just your oil pump timing stuff, but everything else is really done on the top. And on those motors, they're going to be right in between on price, from a used motor to a completely rebuilt motor. They really feel a very good market and kind of a niche market to that. And on every one of those we've done in the past 3 years, we haven't had one come back, not one. And we follow up with customers over a year later to see where things have been, and those snuck up on me there. Those things have they're still running, and that's what we like to see. So we have a phenomenal engine builder, and that's it. 303-666-9020. Thanks a lot.